Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for selecting TVO as your first workshop of the day. As Neve mentioned, today we will be going over some of TVO's free digital learning resources, and this presentation will specifically be focusing on our math and science resources. My name is Sadia Hussain. I'm the outreach officer at TVO, and I have a background in early childhood education. And I will hand it over to Inio to introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. And as Sadia mentioned, thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Iniel Inparaja, and I'm an educator within the Toronto District School Board in the elementary panel. I've been an educator for over 20 years and love every single day of it. And I'm so happy to share TVO resources with you, since I've been seconded with TVO for the past 2 years. I will be going back to the school in September to work more closely within my school community as well. And I just wanted to mention also today we have such a variety of different sectors represented at this conference who support community directly. So we hope that you will be able to take away some resources and tools that can support learners really of all ages. In the chat, while we are doing the session, please do put questions as they come up. We will keep notice of the chat and answer it if we're able to as we're going through. And if not, there's also a time at the very end for you to ask any clarifying questions or extension questions as well. We will also be posting some of the links for the resources that we mentioned during the session. And so feel free to open up a new browser and check out some of those links as we are sharing the resources with you as well. So we would like to begin by recognizing that wherever in Ontario we're logging in from today, we're located on the traditional territory of Indigenous peoples. I want to acknowledge all Indigenous peoples in Ontario and their traditional territories, all the nations who have called this land their home for thousands of years. TVO is located on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and Mississaugas of the Credit. Wherever you're logging in from today, I invite you to reflect on those nations who have been the caretakers of the land that you are on, to take moments to recognize their history, but also their contributions and current context, and to think about where each of us can take meaningful action to restore relationships with the diverse Indigenous communities, both local and national. June is National Indigenous History Month in Canada. And for me, I think about calls to action 62 and 63 that have direct impact in education. And I also think about what my reconciliation will be. So thank you again. We will begin the session with the video that kind of gives you an overview of TVO Media Education Group.
I'm everything you need. No looking in and
Every time I watch that video, it sort of energizes me and roots me back in community, to those who we support. So here are many of the digital learning resources that are available to support really learners of all ages. So TVO Learn is an open access resource with learning activities for all subjects for all grade levels, and it's aligned to the curriculum. Then we have TVO Learn Mathify, which is a one-to-one math tutoring for grades 4 to 12 with an Ontario certified educator. TVO Learn Empower is a math game resource which really supports kindergarten to grade 6 learners with their math fundamental skills. TVO Coding in the Classroom can support you in your programs by introducing or activating the coding activities that is aligned to the science and the math curriculum. TVO Kids really starts with preschool and goes all the way to grade 5, and it can really support learners at home to really to learn about the various topics. And again, it's linked back to what they're learning in school with shows and games. And TVO Today is a place where you can find current events, documentaries, podcasts, and award-winning journalism on a variety of different topics that matter to Ontarians. So we will be sharing these resources and going into a little bit more in depth within each one of them. All of the digital learning resources go through equity and inclusion review, which means that we ensure that Ontarians are represented, and both historical and current contexts are also represented. The learning activities are reviewed to ensure that Indigenous perspectives are addressed in an authentic way, and there are Indigenous content specialists who also ensure that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action are also followed, and that we're advancing the process of Canadian reconciliation. Again, representation, ensuring that a variety of different voices and lived experiences and perspectives are expressed in all of the learning activities. The learning activities are what we call AODA compliant, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, which ensures that if there's any videos or images, that there's alternate text, and also the text on many of these learning activities can be read if you have a screen reader as well. The language within the learning activity is also inclusive. So you may notice words like imagine, discover, and explore in order to make that experience of within the learning more inclusive as well. So we will start with TVO Learn as the first resource that we're going to talk about. And TVO Learn, you can find it online. Sadia will put the link in the chat so you could check it out while we are sharing it with you. No registration is necessary. It is a resource where it kind of brings together all of the various digital learning resources TVO has into one place. And it's learning resources for kindergarten all the way to grade 12 in a variety of different subjects. So we will begin with an overview video that gives us a quick glance as to what this resource is all about.
Welcome to TVO Learn. We support families and educators with engaging and free resources to enhance or deepen learning from students in kindergarten through grade 12. Everything on TVOLearn.com is developed or created by Ontario educators and supports what students learn in class. TVO Learn offers in-depth learning activities, STEM games from TVO Empower, math tutoring support from TVO Mathify, and curriculum-linked videos from TVO Kids. Plus, vocabulary lists, curated current affairs articles, and videos from TVO.org, and so much more. We're constantly evolving to meet the needs of today's students, parents, and educators. Expanded resources are on the way. To get started, simply visit TVOLearn.com and select a grade to view the subject areas in the Ontario curriculum. Choose a subject to access the full range of resources available. Our resources are AODA compliant, and they reflect the diversity of Ontario. For high school support, narrow your search by language, grade, subject, and type of instruction. There are over 140 not-for-credit courses from TVO ILC available to help students explore new skills or support and enhance current studies. Here's what educators are saying about TVO Learn. Check out TVO Learn today and discover an extensive offering of Ontario educator-developed free learning resources that make learning an enjoyable and impactful experience. For more information about the TVO resources, go to outreach.tvolearn.com. You can also sign up for a personalized session with our TVO Ontario educators. To book an outreach session, please email us at outreach@tvo.org.
So TVO Learn sort of launched in 2020, and it brings together all of the TVO educational resources in one place. All of the learning activities are aligned to the curriculum, it's advertisement free, and it's relevant with engaging topics to learners. So as an instructional liaison, I have the opportunity to work with educators in schools, as well as educators in community organizations. And many of them utilize these resources, whether it be in their after school program or during the day programs as well. So when you go to the landing site for TVO Learn, you will notice that this is what it looks like. And at the very top, you'll notice the elementary division, secondary tabs. So for the elementary, it's kindergarten all the way to grade 8. And within each grade level, you will find a number of subjects that are accessible. So if you choose a particular grade level, and choose a particular subject, in this case, we may have chosen mathematics, you'll notice the curriculum overview. So you can get sort of a quick glimpse of what that grade level curriculum overview is. At the very bottom, you'll notice that there's additional resources for learning. There's also ideas. So there's some ideas for educators to browse and maybe take and use. And there's also vocabulary list. Within the overview, you'll notice all the different strands that are covered within that curriculum area as well, whether it be for math or for science. So here we have the learning activity. So as you scroll down, for each grade level, for each subject, for math, for science, you'll find learning activities. And there's 12 learning activities for each within each of the strands in math. So math strands are number, algebra, data, spatial sense, and financial literacy. You'll find 12 activities in each of those strands. And for language, you will also find 12 activities within each of the language strands, which is reading, writing, oral, and media literacy. They're all hyperlinked so that you can get to it quite easily. Each of the learning activities is organized in a purposeful way. It's called a 3-part format. You have the minds on, where there's activation of prior knowledge. There's the action, where's the new learning. And then you have the consolidation, where learners have the opportunity to apply their new learning in a variety of different tasks. So again, many educators sometimes may take one part of it and use it one day and then the next part another day, or you can take bits and pieces of all of those different elements and create your own learning experience as well. Also within the learning activities is the learning goals. This is where you'll notice the direct link to the curriculum expectations. And then the success criteria kind of tells you and the learner what they're going to be learning about. And this is written in a very learner-friendly language that you can share or post in your learning spaces as well. For math and science, the learning activities actually reflect the revised curriculum that was done recently. So the math is the revised and the science also is the revised curriculum. There are some new areas of focus in science that you can bring into your learning space, like food literacy, coding, Indigenous perspectives and knowledge, contributions to science from diverse communities, STEM skills and connections, climate change. So these are some of the topics that are addressed in the learning activities as well. And keeping with the theme of STEM and skills, there are lots of activities within the science subjects from grade 1 to 8, where there's a lot of hands-on learning happening. So you can actually take these learning activities and even bring it to the learning space in a very tactile manner. And you'll notice that everything is sort of curated and written out for you, so that you can easily transfer it from a screen to a hands-on experience as well. So again, lots of opportunities to address these topics and learning in a cross-curricular manner. So instead of siloing just the science and the math, why not combine it together? So there's lots of opportunities to take some of the math activities and the science activities and combine them into one. And in our second session, Mel will talk more about the language as well, but lots of opportunities to create a theme and then pull various activities to have that theme come to life in an authentic way. So we talked a little bit about coding as one of the new things you'll find in the revised science and technology curriculum, but it's also in the math curriculum as well. And I know that many community organizations and learning organizations are adding that STEM and coding into what they do. So in the math learning activities, in the algebra strand, for every grade level, you will find coding activities, which often use the Scratch platform. So there's a link, you click on it, and it takes you to the activity to do already. And also in the science, there are coding activities within each of the modules there as well. So that's a great way to introduce coding to the learners whom you serve. So let's go to the secondary. So that's another tab that's available to you. And for the secondary learners, you have access to what's called the open house courses. And these are not credit courses, but they reflect many of the courses that secondary learners may partake in. So there are many courses that you can search for using this filter. So you can choose the language of study, English, you can choose a grade level, grade 9, you can choose a subject, math, and then you can take a look at what that math course may look like. Now, the de-streamed math course is available on there for you and learners to explore. And for all the secondary courses, you will notice that they're organized under units. So for each course, there's a course overview, the course code, which is what the learners will have at school as well. It matches that. And then you have the units of study. And within the units of study, you have the learning activities. So if you are supporting learners virtually, those learning activities also have a link. So you could even get that link and share it directly with the learners. This is an example of the science course for grade 10. And you'll notice here how within the units you have the different learning activities. Now, one of the things that's really cool for me as an educator and what learners love is that both in the elementary and secondary learning activities, there are lots of embedded interactives. And what I mean by that is things that learners can engage with. There might be image carousels, videos, there might be like a self-check matching activity. So lots of things where learners are also interacting with their learning. So we're going to explore one of the learning activities together. And this is a financial literacy learning activity. Just going to find the link and post it for you so that you can explore the learning activity while we showcase it. So this is a grade 2 math learning activity under the strand financial literacy. And the name of the learning activity is identifying coins. So grade 2, financial literacy, it's learning activity number 1, and the title of it is identifying coins. So right off the bat, you may go and take a look at the learning goals. So the learning goals for this activity is to analyze the purpose of Canadian money, to identify the value of Canadian coins, and to combine coins to produce a set amount. And that comes directly out of the curriculum. Then you have the success criteria, which many educators co-create with their learners and share with their learners. So by the end of this learning activity, students may be able to identify the value of Canadian coins and count the total value. And for me, I think of this learning activity also across grade levels, right? So it could also support multilingual learners in terms of their current context and learning. So as I mentioned, we have the three-part format. We have the Minds On, where there's activation of prior knowledge. So in this particular learning activities, the question, you get to ask learners questions, and these questions are already there for you to take and utilize. So you may ask the learners, why do we need money? What do you or your family buy with the money? You may have that conversation. There's also an embedded TVO Kids video where Gavin visits Steve at the Canadian Coin and Currency Exchange, and they have, they introduce learners to, the mint, Canadian Mint, and talk about coins and things like that. So there's a video already there. So that's the Minds On, activating prior knowledge. Then we move on to the action where the new learning happens. And oftentimes there are various tasks there for you. You don't have to do all the tasks. You may just choose the one that applies to you or that applies to the learners you serve. In this particular task, you're introduced to the various currencies, coins, and naming them, and also where they're able to then, you can print out a PDF. So there's PDFs there. You can print it out or you can do it virtually, where then they get to categorize and organize the various coins based on the value and the naming. So the name of the coin, the picture of the coin, and the value of the coin. And again, great way to bring it back to tactile, right? So you can add that piece to it as well. Then the task 2 is sort of an image carousel where learners are looking at the various coins and determining the total value. So each image carousel has multiple coins and learners are determining the total value represented there. So again, you can do it hands-on or you can use that same worksheet if you want. So there's multiple tasks for you and the learner to engage in, and some questions to guide and scaffold the learning in terms of scenarios. You're at a laundromat, you have a toonie, but the laundry only costs $1. Here are some questions to consider or tasks to engage in. So those are there for you. Now we go to the consolidation where you apply the learning. And so here are some interactives. So these are embedded interactives that you can use to count and to identify the various coins as well. Within the consolidation, there's a link to a TVO Learn Empower game, which we will talk about later, where learners get to count stamps and quantity that way as well. So a variety of different assessment opportunities, assessment as learning and for learning. You have PDFs, you have interactives, you have the image carousel. So all different ways that you could then assess where the learner is at to celebrate success, but also plan for next steps. So that is one example of the learning activity and how it is organized. One of the things I love about it is as well at the end in the consolidation, there's a reflection piece where you and the learner can conference and talk about what worked, what's next, and how they feel about their learning. So social emotional learning is sort of built into many of these learning activities to really foster that mathematical mindset and that we can all be mathematicians. So to end off TVO Learn, TVO Learn also has a newsletter they send out every month, and you can sign up for this newsletter. Educators love getting them because every month there's a different theme. And there are selection of various learning activities that are showcased. And I love it because when I sometimes look at it, I might be introduced to a learning activity that I'm not aware of. And this is a great way to get like that little gift every month that shares different learning activities with you. So I strongly, I recommend that. It's a great little gift in your inbox to get to support learners. Any questions about TVO Learn? If you wanted to post it in the chat, or if you would like, you can always unmute and ask as well. Just give everyone maybe 30 seconds to kind of stop and ask or reflect. All right. Feel free to post any questions, even though we're moving on to the next learning resource. If something comes to you, put it in the chat and we'll try and address it for sure. Moving on to TVO Learn Empower. So this is a math learning resource. It is learner-centered, it's assessment-driven, it's based on the Ontario curriculum. It's free for all Ontarians. There's no advertising or anything like that within the games when learners are playing. It's safe and it has a green tool for use in educational environments. So it's a kindergarten to grade 6 math game resource. So there are math games. Learners can then play the math games to reinforce, foundational mathematical skills. It's aligned to the curriculum, so you'll notice that many documents are referenced and used in the creation of the games, in the game narratives, so that there's a direct link. Also, all the games sort of foster, again, that social emotional learning. So learners feel good about what they're learning and how they're learning, and also learn about how they learn, right? Which is a very important skill to have as well. You'll notice this curriculum overview chart, and maybe Sadia can put the link in our chat for you to access as well. This is a great curriculum overview chart because there are 65 plus games in this resource. So educators can actually take a look at, what grade level they're supporting and which games align with that. Also which strand that game addresses and what curriculum expectation that aligns with it, and the big idea. So it's a great planner to take a look at because you might choose one of the games that you might want to introduce the learner so that they can go in and play. All of the games sort of follow the engineering design thinking process, right? So learners are always sort of problem solving, thinking critically, but this is also awesome because there's scaffolding provided throughout the game. So when the learners are playing the game, if they encounter a challenge or if they're unable to move forward for whatever reason, there's always hints. There's always like visual sort of hints as well, right? On auditory, text, but also visual. Things might blink to give an indication for the learner. So there's scaffolding built throughout to support the learner, because the goal is to really get them to like the learning of the math. This resource is a little bit different in the sense that you will have to create an account. So if you are an educator with a school board, then you can create an account as an educator. If you are an educator with a community organization, then you can create an account as a caregiver. And then you will have, you can add the learners, and each learner will get their special login and username, which a lot of learners love, because it gives them that own personal advocacy and responsibility. When learners log in to TVO Learn Empower, it's very personalized depending on their grade level. They get to play games in sort of game worlds that are cognitively, developmentally, and emotionally appropriate. And the characters really represent the diverse, diverse Ontarians. They represent the learners, and also they age as the age of the learners and the grades increase. So there's a kindergarten world, There's a grade 1 world, a grade 2 world, and a grades 3 to 6 world. They can also browse all the games. And this is where you might just say to them, go to, browse the games and pick this game to play. They can search the game by, alphabetically or by categories, and they have access to 65 plus games. So here's an example of the grade 1 world. The newest game is Train Track 123, and all of the kindergarten games are actually aligned with the frames, the 4 frames. So it directly links back to the learning outcomes in the kindergarten program. And it introduces learners to, the immediate world that they're engaged in. Let's view a short clip of one of the kindergarten worlds that talk about prepositional language, over, under, and in between.
Oh no! I lost my water bottle at the park! Can you ask my friend on top of the monkey bars if they've seen it, please?
You're on the right track. My friend in front of the steering wheel might know where it is.
Oh look! It's over there! I knew you'd find it! Thank you!
So let's go to the grade 1 world, which is called My Town. And again, because they're math games doesn't mean that they're solely just math. There's a lot of integration with other subject areas as well. So in this particular world, My Town, learners are also learning about their community and community services. And that's a direct link to social studies as well. So here again, you'll see the variety of different games within this world and their purposeful math games. And we'll watch a financial literacy game overview called Money Midway, which is a grade 1 game.
This time, try a new combination of coins. Insert 15 cents. Tap to add coins. Interstellar work. Prepare for takeoff.
So in the grade 2 world called My Clubhouse, they actually go and explore various habitats and ecosystems around the world. And there's, again, not just math, but there's a link to science because they're learning about ecosystems and habitats. And again, lots of different games that address a variety of different math strands. We're going to skip this video just because of time. I'm going to move on to the grades 3 to 6, and 3 to 6 world is called My Ontario. Takes place in modern day Ontario with links to STEM careers, to link to modern jobs, and really to talk about responsible citizenship and the environment. So there are a variety of different games there. Here are some sort of interfaces that you may notice. Again, Food on the Move is about financial literacy. Then we have Cyber Siege, which is about algebra, and they get to zap viruses. And in grades 3 to 6, it's also a little bit more personalized because they create their own avatar, and learners have a lot of fun doing that as well. So in addition to all the math games, there are also STEM games that are available from kindergarten to grade 6. And the STEM games really follow that engineering design thinking process, which you saw in that science curriculum overview, getting learners to really think about a problem, think about create a solution, design a solution, but also like test and simulate and reiterate following that design thinking process. So they're able to do that with a variety of different ways. So these are some examples of the kindergarten and grade 1 to 2 STEM games that you'll notice. And again, in that curriculum overview chart, you'll see the STEM games listed and the science strand and the expectations that each of the games address. And here are examples of grades 3 to 6. I was a grade 8, 7, and 8 science teacher, and I would often use many of these games in my science program as well. So I really love how flexible these games are. They're not limited to, one grade. Like in grade 8, we do body systems. So I would play that game. Learners would play Function Factory. In grade 7, we do structures. So they would play the game Wildlife Crossing and Playground Adventure. So lots of great ways to incorporate these games into your program as well. We will watch a quick overview of the STEM game. This is called Wildlife Crossing. This is a grade 4 game.
Awesome engineering.
So as I mentioned before, if you are an employee within a school board, you can actually use the educator registration and create a TVO Learn Empower account. If you are a community organization educator and don't have that board email address, you can create an account using a caregiver account, and then you can just add the learners and provide them with the login and password as well. If you need any support with this, please do reach out to us, and we'll be able to support you with that as well. Okay. I'm going to pass it on to Sadia to talk about TVO Kids.
All right, thank you so much, Emil, for such a thorough overview. I'll now move on to my personal favorite resource, TVO Kids. TVO Kids gets our youngest Ontarians ready for school and life. It is the home to all of our original programming and games for those in kindergarten to grade 5. So here is the school age page on TVOkids.com, where you can immediately access all of our shows, episodes, and games. You can also watch the channel live through the Watch Live button on our YouTube channel. And I'd also like to highlight that all of the content on TVO Kids is aligned with the Ontario curriculum, advertisement free, and it's all about making learning fun for young learners. If you are looking for a subject-specific content, so for example, if you're looking for specifically math and science, you can click on the Explore by Topic button or on the subject-specific tiles that you can see on the bottom of the page here. So, specifically, if you were looking for math, you would click on the Math button, and then you would have a curated list of shows and games that you can see here. As you can see, a family favorite is Odd Squad, and there would be a list that you would see on the page. And again, there are the science curated list for you. As you can see, there's the Science Choice Board, which is almost like homework help. It would give science questions for you to work on at home. So these are some examples of numeracy-focused shows and games that you can find on TVOkids.com. I'd really like to highlight Sense, which is all about financial literacy, as well as CompuBox, which is all about coding. And these are an example of our science and technology-focused TV shows. That's just my clock going off there in the background. An example is Science Explosion, a show you can watch all the science experiments. And there's also Our Planet, which is a series of digital shorts on TVOkids.com, all about environmentalism and loving planet Earth. So this is one of our newest content on TVO Kids. It's called No Brainers, which is teens and tweens focused content. These are a series of YouTube episodes that are released bi-weekly and explore a topic of interest for teens that might be of interest to tweens. So an example might be overcoming fear, birds of prey, and just a variety of topics. This was a series of YouTube shorts that were in collaboration with the Ontario Science Centre. It features the scientists from the Ontario Science Centre as they attempt to answer questions asked by real young Ontarians. So definitely an interesting short to check out. And thank you. I'll hand it back to Inyo for TVO Learn Mathify.
Awesome. Thanks, Sadia. So TVO Learn Mathify is a one-to-one math tutoring for grades 4 to 12 learners. It is a free resource for learners who are in a publicly funded school. So TVO Learn Mathify, we'll go through the different features of it, but essentially learners will have to register for a TVO Learn Mathify account. So if you're in grade 4 to 12, you'll register, learners register, and they have access to tutors who can support them with their math learning pretty much every day of the week. It is also a green tool and it's safe to use in learning environments. So we'll watch a quick overview of the resource, TVO Learn Mathify.
Math questions becoming math problems? Build your math superpowers in real time from anywhere in Ontario, absolutely free. TVO Mathify has supported tens of thousands of grades 4 to 11 students in Ontario publicly funded schools. Work through complex math problems in class with your teacher and continue the learning at home with access to live Ontario certified teachers who will work with you one-on-one for free. This is how it works. Use the TVO Mathify interactive whiteboard to sketch out a math problem. Upload photos of existing math work on a question sent to you by your teacher, or select a question from the question bank. Then work on it anytime. If you need support with the math question, connect with a tutor of your choice through voice chat or messaging. Our Ontario certified teachers are here to help you fully understand how to solve and work through even the toughest math problems. You can even save your completed sessions to review later on. It's that easy. That's TVO Mathify. Whether you use it in class or on your own at home or both, think of TVO Mathify as a way to ignite your math power. Get started today at tvomathify.com.
So when a learner is, okay, we have a question. So is connecting with the tutor also free? Yes, that's correct. So I'll go over some of the features of TVO Learn Mathify. So it's a math tutoring support currently, and learners do have to create their own Mathify account, TVO Learn Mathify account. They have to register using their Ontario education number. And once they have their account, they have access to a whiteboard and question bank. And the whiteboard is where they put their question on, and they invite the tutor that is available to support them. So the tutor gets to see the whiteboard. The learner can then communicate either through voice enabled or through a chat. They can choose which one, and they interact with the tutor. The tutors are Ontario certified educators. So they are math educators as well. So they really know the curriculum and they're able to support the learner in a manner that is consistent with what's happening within the classroom as well. The tutors are available Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and from Saturdays and Sundays from 3 to 9 p.m. And in the summer hours, I believe for this summer, it will be in July as well. It is endorsed by the Ministry of Education. It is anonymous, which means it's not like a video chat call. You don't see faces. There's no real names. Users have usernames. Tutors have usernames. So it's anonymous and secure. Learners can use it in pretty much any device that they have available, whether it be a tablet, a laptop, desktop, or even a phone. Chrome is the best browser for the use of this resource as well. So yes, connecting with the tutor is free. So when a learner creates their account, this is the dashboard that they have access to. They create their own avatar. There are some self-guided tours to support them if they want to take a tour of how TVO Learn Mathify works. They have a whiteboard and they have a question bank. And at the very top, you'll see that green bar. So if they log in on Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., that bar would be green, indicating that tutors are available to support them. If it's off hours, then that bar will indicate red as well. And then you'll notice at the very top, choose a tutor. So this is what the whiteboard looks like. A whiteboard is very similar to any other whiteboard that learners may have access to. And it's a constructivist tool, which means they have to create what goes on the whiteboard. And there's many different ways to do that. Many learners may use the text tool to write the question, use the pencil tool to draw something. They may actually import. You'll see that camera tool there. They may import an image. A lot of learners like doing that. They take a picture of their PDF or maybe their worksheet or notebook, or they do a screenshot of what's in their Google Classroom or their virtual learning environment, and they can upload it. There's actually a new tool that's on there that was recently updated. It's a paste tool. So it's a copy and paste as well. So once they have the question, they need to have something on that board. Once they have a question on there, they can then connect with the tutor, and the tutor will be able to see what's on the whiteboard, and then they could engage in that session to support the learner. So when they connect with the tutor, it automatically kind of selects based on the grade level of the student, the tutors that are available to support that learner. Any tutor with the green check mark means that they're available to support. And if they're not available, it tells them when they are going to be online. Learners can favorite their tutors. You'll see that solid blue star. So as learners connect with tutors, they might actually make a connection and like the style of teaching and learning, and they might favorite that tutor. So they're able to browse to see if their favorite tutor is online and connect with them. Sometimes there are times when it could be busy. Learners will know that because it'll say that there's users ahead. So, learners can either wait for that tutor or they can join another tutor that is free and available. If the learner does not have a question from what they're doing in school, they can also go to the question bank. So the question bank has questions from grade 4 all the way to grade 12, and learners have access to this. So think about the continuum. So learners can use this not just to practice or review or brush up on concepts that they need additional support with, but learners can also kind of think about the extension piece, right? They can go ahead. A great thing for you to maybe encourage over the summer is maybe using this tool in your learning spaces as a review method to review the past grade or to look ahead. So these are some things that you can use in ways that you can maybe utilize it. So here, when they find a question from the question bank, they can preview it, they can load it onto the whiteboard, and then they can connect with the tutor to work on that if they need some support. The great thing is all of this, the chats, the sessions that they have are saved in a thing called My Stuff. It's kind of like their locker where they have all of their whiteboards and all of their chats. A great opportunity for learners to go back and maybe review one of the sessions. If they don't remember how it's done, they don't have, they can go back and listen to. So all of those sessions are saved so that the learner can access them whenever they need to. So as a learner, they do have to register for TVO Learn Mathify. They will have to create their username and a password. They have to indicate their grade level. And if they're in high school, they just have to choose the math course. It doesn't really matter if they choose the right one or not, because they have access to actually all of the math courses and all of the question bank questions. The Ontario Education Number is a number that they find in their report card. And the reason that that is asked is that if a learner is experiencing a crisis or requires additional support for whatever reason, the tutor is able to then relay that information to the board contact in order for the school board to then provide the support that the student needs. So that is the reason in order to ask for that number. So once they have their account, it actually stays with them until they graduate. Is this only available in the summer months? No, it's available all year round. So Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and in the summertime as well, and on the weekends. So students may be taking summer school. They might come to your program over the summer. This is a great way, maybe it's a homework club. This is a great way for them to utilize the time and connect with a math educator who can support them in real time as well. I hope, Ellie, I answered that question for you. Any other questions about Mathify? I'm just looking at the chat. Any tutoring support? Oh, great question. Do you have any tutoring support for resources kindergarten to 3? So Shabana, what I would suggest for kindergarten to grade 3 is the TVO Learn TVO Learn Empower resource that we talked about, which is math games. And it's an amazing scaffolded math game to really support the K to 6 learner. So I would suggest TVO Learn Empower for the K to 3. I would also encourage you to check out the TVO Learn math activities for kindergarten to grade 3, and then TVO Kids math games as well that can reinforce that fundamental math skills from K to 3. I hope that helps, and I can support you later on if you need some additional resources. Sabrina, can you tell me more about students not registered in a school system? So are you talking about maybe adult learners who are maybe taking high school courses? Maybe you can give me some clarity with that. And we can talk to you at the end, Sabrina, for sure. Just looking at the time there, I'm just going to keep moving forward, and I thank you for your questions, and then we can continue to talk about some of the questions that you have as well. So again, coding. Coding is part of math curriculum. It's part of the science curriculum. It's a new language. It's a new way of learning. It's in our worlds, right? And it's so important to introduce learners of all ages to this platform and this way of computational thinking. So TVO does have coding resources available, and they're organized within divisions. So there's primary, junior, intermediate. And as you can see, within the various divisions, there's tips, frameworks, activities, webinars, that can enlighten you, that can support you as you go on this coding journey with the learners in your space. So here's an example of a primary coding activity. This was educator developed by an educator from Hamilton Wentworth called Gabriella Bowen. And this one talks about which one doesn't belong, and it uses Scratch Junior, but it also has like PDFs, so slide decks or PDFs that you can print out and you can then use with learners. It has sort of instructional language as to like what to do first and next. So it helps young learners get introduced to sort of, movement, to directionality, and also the idea that coding is not just one answer, it's multiple solutions and multiple ways of thinking. This is a junior coding activity that's there, where learners get to actually create an addition game using Scratch coding. And this particular one you can see is a video, and it takes the learner, you could even engage this with the learner. The learner can watch this and then do it and follow it step by step, right? Or you can put it on a screen and do it all together. This one is an intermediate activity where we talk about data. So you can have a larger conversation about data, but then you can also do this particular activities to count the number of steps and sort of think about activity, physical activity, but also how to gather data and use data in everyday lives as well. So this is what the page for coding looks like. This is, as you can see, there's math coding activities and science coding activities for different grade levels. So if you're only supporting primary learners, you might want to check out the grades 1 to 4 coding activities in math and science. So depending on the age level of the learners you're serving, check out the different activities. And one thing I should say is a lot of these webinars are curated by educators and also by Lisa Ann Floyd and Dr. Stephen Floyd, and they're educators who are very popular in the computer science and coding world in Ontario. They're out of University of Western Ontario, and their webinars are great because they give practical examples of what coding activities can look like in a learning space, and they give you that step-by-step how to implement it. So it's worthwhile to check out if you're able. Pass it on to Sadia.
Thanks so much, Danielle. I'll talk about TVO today, which might be more of an
Sadia, I just wanted to ask if you can come a little bit closer to your mic. You're cutting a little bit out.
Of course.
Much better, much better.
This is better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks for letting me know. So I'll talk about TVO today, which might be more of interest to secondary and adult learners. So TVO today is where you can find high quality, in-depth articles, videos, documentaries, podcasts, and journalism on Canadian issues. The screen you see here is the landing page for all the documentaries you can find on TVO today, with a wide variety of topics ranging from art, history, science, environment, and more. You can also search by topic here as well. So if you are specifically looking for a science and math documentary, you can search for that. So here we've highlighted some documentaries that are relevant to science and technology. Amongst a few are the Earth to Sky documentary, which explores Indigenous ways of knowing and follows Indigenous architects as they create sustainable structures in communities. Another one is the Water Brothers, which is a doc that explores environmental issues as two brothers travel across the world to explore our relationship with water. And I believe Iniel and I left some time here for participants to explore our resources. What do you think, Iniel? Do you have time?
I think so. It's we have about 5 minutes. If we can give you maybe a minute to just maybe if you wanted to go back and check out one of these resources, if you haven't done so already, or if you had a question, this might be a good time to just to do that. So I'll put a minute on my clock and give you that time for a quick exploration. That was my timer. I also wanted to just add to what Sadia said. If you are, if you are doing sort of theme-based activities, or maybe a conversation circle with learners, TVO Today can have lots of current event sort of segments from the agenda or the thread. There's podcasts. There's the documentaries which you can pull from to kind of use as a provocation, to use as a conversation starter or a discussion starter as well. So I know Sadia mentioned high school students as well, but I've also used it for grade 6, 7, and 8 learners as well, depending on the topic.
All right, and with that, I will end off our presentation with our outro. So we'd love to encourage everyone to explore our outreach website at outreach.tvolearn.com. Here you'll have access to dive deeper into all the resources we covered today and explore how you can integrate them with your communities. You'll also have access to the webinars that Inyo mentioned before about coding in science and mathematics, as well as writing media concepts for language classes. Here is a page that might be of interest to the communities we serve as well. This is the TVO newcomers page. It's a resource for newcomers to Ontario. The menu on the page includes information such as politics, Indigenous perspectives, money and finances, discovering Ontario, employment and careers, and Canadian stories. You can also select your language of choice when exploring the webpage. And finally, if you are interested in having TVO come and visit you and talk to your community and your organization, this is a service that is available to you. You can request a session using the event request form that we will link here in the chat, and you will also receive when you get a PDF of this presentation. And please make sure to sign up for the TVO.org newsletters to stay informed on what is upcoming and new TVO. And with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to listen to us today. I hope the presentation was helpful for you. And thank you.
Thank you.